Hello and welcome to this episode of Simply Saturday, where I get to show you a card that is fast and easy to make. My name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. So the card that I'm showing you today is not an idea that I created. I have seen several other crafters doing this style of card, but it's my first opportunity to bring it to you. It was also my first opportunity to actually try it. So we're going to be doing this together. So let me give you two examples of the card, and then during this video, I'm going to make and also complete a second card. So the idea behind this card is to have a little peekaboo window in the card. And what makes it kind of unique is, and I'll show you, if you're to take a punch and try to punch out a window, you will have a lot of ease and luck going this direction. But how in the world are you going to get your punch into that section of the card? So that's today's mystery, and that's what I'm going to show you. So we're going to do one like this so that you can see how to do it, which you can also get a similar look by punching your window out at the bottom, which would not be problematic. You can slip your punch in, do the punching, and that one does not create a problem. Still super cute with that little peekaboo window. So we're going to be using the Latte Love stamp set, and I've only done one card video of this. I did post a corner bookmark with a coffee theme recently, but this is only the second card that I have posted, and I have lots of cards to share with you with this coffee theme, so there will be more coming along. So the first thing that we're going to do is take a card base. I'm using Pecan Pie. This piece is a 1/4 sheet of cardstock, so this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. All right, that's our card base. Then we need a piece of designer series paper, and as I said, we're going to use the stamp bundle that's called Latte Love, and the paper is called A Little Latte. So I've chosen this print, and it's kind of interesting because I had to choose my print based on what I have left. I have really worked through my 12 by 12 packet of this paper. I have 2 more packages of it coming, but for today's video, I had to just go with what I have. So I started, of course, with what I have, and that's what I encourage you to do. But I was not disappointed at all because this is going to turn out very cute. So this piece is 4 inches by 10 1/2 inches. All right, now you can either score it and fold it, or because it's designer series paper, it's not super important that you put a score line. You can line up your edges very carefully and go ahead and fold that piece. All right, so there is our designer series paper, which is really the main focus of this card, as it also coordinates with the little peekaboo window. Okay, so we've got our piece here. This is going to go onto the card base, but we need to create our window. Now, as I already alluded, this would be very easy if I wanted to punch out a window down here at the front of this piece of paper. But how to get the window up here is the problem. So what we're going to do is go ahead and leave the paper folded, come in on that upper edge. I'm going to push the punch in as far as it'll go, and I'm going to look at the right and the left to get it as centered as possible. And then I'm going to punch through both layers. All right, so not only do we have the peekaboo window that we need, we also have some nice little pieces that we might be able to use on a different project. Okay, so now we've got this great piece of paper with an extra hole that we don't really need, and so this is how we're going to remedy that. All right. This is going to go on here like so, and there's a couple different ways to do this. So I'll try to mention a couple of the options as we go along here. But what we're going to do on this first card is simply put another piece of cardstock here, which is going to cover up that hole. No one's going to ever know that it was there. So I have a piece of white cardstock, and this piece is cut 3.5 by 4 3/4 inches. You could go a little bit larger if you want to, but I kind of liked it trimmed down because I like seeing this Lost Lagoon striped paper all around it. But this could be bigger if you wanted to go larger. All right, so this is going to go here, which does two things for us. It covers that hole, so nobody is going to be the wiser about that extra hole being there. And it also gives me a nice bright white space for me to stamp inside this window. So let's do some gluing and then we will get to our stamping. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is glue this piece onto my card base. I used the Heartfelt Hexagon punch. There's a very good chance, well, I'm filming out a little ways, so I was going to say that there's a good chance that this is not available right now. It's coming back into stock, but actually by the time this video airs on YouTube, I think this will be available again. If not, you always know to check back. And what I always tell my customers is to check back a day or two before the expected date, because sometimes it comes back in early and then people buy it up and it sells out again at the time that it was supposed to be back in stock. So some of those super hot products that are just, you know, selling very fast, that happens with. Okay, that is done. Now we're going to go ahead and glue this piece inside, covering up the hole and also giving us a nice bright white space to do our stamping on. All right, so I've got that into place. This inside portion is the part that I feel like there are variations. So for instance, this piece could have been bigger and pretty much covered all of the designer series paper if you wanted. And I'm also going to show you how to use a nice die cut on this piece, which is just a variation. Okay, so here's just our white piece. All right, let's decorate our card and do our stamping. I'm going to use the stamp that says, "Hello there, let's catch up." And as I'm looking at it, I feel like it's mounted on my stamp crooked. So I'm going to clean it because it did have ink on it. And I'm going to back up a step and take the stamp off of my acrylic block. I'm going to lay it here on my, I have a mat here that has a grid on it. A lot of times I also stamp with the Stampin' Up! Grid paper, but I don't have a piece of that on my desk right now. So I'm just going to use my mat. Oh, stuck to me. So I'm going to line that up straight within the grid and then press my acrylic block onto it. I think this will be straighter than it was before. I was probably in a hurry when I mounted it before. All right, some early espresso ink. Well, I've got two different ways I can go. All right, so designing on the fly. I think on the second card I'll use early espresso. So on this one I'm going to use Lost Lagoon. And I did take a moment to check and make sure that this stamp fits in here, and it barely does. Any cute greeting could go in here, so just make sure that whatever shape you've punched and whatever stamp you're choosing work together space-wise. Okay, so Lost Lagoon ink and my space there. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that like so. Okay, next we're going to stamp and die cut a coffee cup. So I'm just going to use the scrap. You can see I've already cut a coffee cup out of it before. And I'm going to grab that cup stamp that is from the stamp set. And I'm going to ink it with early espresso. Now, our black memento pad is excellent for stamping and then coloring with your Stampin' blends. But I'm going to go ahead and take the chance and stamp with my early espresso, keeping in mind that when I do color this with my Stampin' blends, it might actually cause this ink to bleed a little bit, but I'm okay with taking that chance on this project. Okay, I mean, look at our backdrop is all splattery and smudgy, so I'm not too worried about this looking really, really pristine. But I say that just so that you remember, if you really want to color with Stampin' blends and not have your outline bleed, then the best bet is your Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad. Okay, so stamping this on a white scrap. And then I'm going to do some quick coloring with my Stampin' blends. I have Calypso Coral Light and Dark. And watch what I'm going to do with my light. I'm literally going to just scribble some color in. I'm not really trying to fill every corner and edge with my marker. And now that I've gotten this far, I realize that we need to stamp the coffee in there too. So let me grab that early espresso ink pad again. And this great little stamp that actually creates the coffee inside the cup. Okay, now we can go back to our coloring. And then I will, I'm checking to make sure that I didn't switch markers. I almost did. Here's the light. That's what I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to go around the rim of the cup. And this is where I mentioned that the early espresso ink, there's a chance that it might run a little bit with my light Calypso Coral. It doesn't appear to be problematic at all, but even if it did, I didn't mind it looking a little muddy. All right, and then just quickly here on the handle of the mug. Okay, so that's with my light. Now I'm going to come in with dark. And just following what the artist has already created for us, I'm going to copy this line and this one and this one. Do a little bit of shading over here. The artwork is already there, so just take advantage of it. I will do the inside shadow of the handle. And let's go ahead and maybe do this rim right here. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do with my dark. And then I'm going to come back in one more time with my light just to kind of blend the dark and the light together. So I'm just going to swoop in here and come down this line and this line and this one. There's my shadowing. All right, and then I'm just going to leave it. I think it looks really good. A little bit of light and dark and white. It's great. Okay, so we're going to take the little die here to cut that out. We're going to run it through our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and then, of course, we end up with this. All right, now what I've also done is stamped some of these coffee beans, the little set of 4, because there's also a single bean in that stamp set. So I stamped that twice, and then using the Pecan Pie in dark, Stampin' blend, just color in those beans. They look like a lovely dark roasted bean. Like so. Finish coloring those in. There's a terrific little die that fits on that, so you can cut out your beans and you are left with this. All right, so now we can finish putting our card together. All right, so roughly I'm going to have my cup here. I have 2 pieces of this great ribbon that looks really good with the coffee theme. And it's going to come out from behind my cup, kind of like that. So I'm going to put some angles on these 2 ends. like so. And I want them to be not quite the same length there. So I'm going to do something like that. All right, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and attach these down to the card. You could use your glue dots, would be a great choice. I'm going to go ahead and use my Stampin' Seal Plus, but that was an empty one. Here we go. But what I will tell you is I've tried to apply seal to the ribbon and it's not so good. So instead, I did this little dry fit to know where I want my ribbon, and I'm going to put my seal actually just on the card like that. And then the ribbon sticks nicely to it. Okay, and then I want this one sticking out a little bit further. So my seal needs to go here. And then what I might do, let's see how this goes. I might stick a teeny bit right here just to catch that end. Okay, now my ribbon is down. I'm going to put the cup next, and let's attach that with some dimensionals. Oh, I have lots of things on my workspace here. So moving things out of the way and bringing things closer that I need. All right, so since I'm going to straddle that ribbon, I'm going to put my dimensionals here and here, above and below. All right, so this was colored, as you saw, with the Calypso Coral. I'm going to go ahead and put my cup right here. It would be fine if it's showing a little bit in the window because it's white on the back. You can kind of see the coloring there. But I point that out because on my next card, you're going to see why that matters. So if you've stamped and die cut your image, it's probably okay if it peeks through the window a little bit. This one I think is going to be fine, just barely not in the window. Okay, and then I've got those two little sets of beans that are so cute. So I'm just going to stick one here. And let's see where this one should go. It might go here. It might go here. We have options. Let's do it up there. I feel like it kind of helps keep everything a little focused without dropping down to that bottom edge. Okay, there's our beans. There's our word peeking through there. And here is our adorable inside of the card. Now, because we can, let's keep going and do a teeny bit more stamping. I'm just deciding this on the fly. So let's get this stamp, which is a mug looking down from the front or from the top. And that was really not so good. All right, I'm going to stamp that in Early Espresso on the inside of the card because it's just so cute. And then let's put a center in that. And our options of latte art, we can do the heart, which I've used quite a few times, and I'm sure that I'm going to be showing you a video where I use that one. So let's use this one instead. And now I want pecan pie. So here's my ink pad. And I'm just going to stamp it kind of at a teeny bit of an angle. Ah, look how cute. Oh my goodness. Now, you could decide to color that mug if you want to. I'm not going to for the purpose of keeping this fast and easy. But if you feel like your mug needs to be colored, you could do that on the inside. All right, so there is our card for today. Now, let me just show you another one, and it's pretty much already being assembled. I'm just going to finish it here for you to show you another option. So this time, my card base is Early Espresso, but again, the same size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I've selected the same designer series paper and I've already punched my hexagon. All right, so let's attach that. Try to get it as straight as I can. Liquid glue to the rescue though, when you do need to slide it. There we go. Okay, that's how we started the first one. Now this time, instead of a white piece on the inside, I chose to use Lost Lagoon cardstock, and I cut it out with these dies. Now this stamp set was retired, Perennial Postage was retired, but the coordinating dies are still available. And look at all of those lovely rectangle and square shapes with, I don't know, what I call like a postage edge. So I used this second largest one to cut out the Lost Lagoon piece. And look, it's gonna go right there. So cute. Okay, I want to make sure that I get it in the right place when I close my window. See what I mean? I don't want this so low that you're going to see something funky. So let's attach that. Covering that hole that we made when we punched with the heartfelt hexagon. And it's kind of nice. The stripes in this Lost Lagoon Designer Series paper are really helping me to get this nice and straight. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to use that same stamp, but this time I'm going to use the Early Espresso ink. It looks great on the Lost Lagoon cardstock. Let me show you. Clean it because I did use Lost Lagoon on our first card. Okay, and I'm going to, it's a little bit hard for me to see while I'm filming because I'd like my head to be right here looking down. So we'll see if I can get it pretty straight this time and centered without getting in the way of your view. Aha, okay, see how good that looks on the Lost Lagoon? I think sometimes it's a little tricky to stamp colored ink onto colored cardstock. You have to play with it sometimes to make sure that it's gonna look good. And that definitely looks good. Now, for this card, to finish it up, instead of doing a stamp and die cut, instead, I went straight to the Designer Series paper. I'm going to pull that out and show you. It is this pattern. And I just fussy cut some of those mugs out. All right. So they're here somewhere. Here we go. All right. So I have a Lost Lagoon one, a Lemon Lolly, and a Calypso Coral one. All right. So we're just going to use those. So instead of stamping and coloring and die cutting, I just fussy cut some mugs out. So let's figure out our layout of these. Now, I talked to you on the first card about that window. Here's why that matters. Since these are fussy cut from the paper, if this was to be up here, which kind of looks cute into that window, I just want you to be aware that when the card is open, you're going to see the back of that DSP. Where if it's just a die cut, most likely that's just going to be white. Which I feel like is okay. So you might not want that showing on the inside of your window. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and bring my mugs down so they're not in the window. And I'm just playing with positioning here. Okay, I kind of want them, I don't want them centered. I feel like it looks too planned if they're centered. So I'm going to shove them a little bit over to the left, something like that. Okay, let's glue those into place. And these are not hard to fussy cut at all. The shapes are really pretty simple. The size of the mug is large enough that you can fussy cut without being frustrated. All right, there's that one. Now tell me, when I'm looking at this, I'm really not sure that I've ever seen a mug that kind of looks like it has a ruffle at the bottom. So it's a very attractive die cut, and it's a beautiful piece of paper. But when I was cutting out, I was thinking, what in the world is that? I don't know. I just had to laugh. Okay, let's put that one on. I like that Lost Lagoon one because it's picking up the color from there. And then this is just adorable. So let's use that front and center. All right, we maybe only need one other little touch on this card. And so I did take my linen thread and prepare a bow. And I think I'll use a glue dot. We just have to decide where it's going to go. Now, if I had a ribbon bow, I would take my ribbon bow and just stick it right on there and pull the glue dot off. I feel like with the linen thread, it's so delicate that sometimes the glue dot is almost too big for it. So instead of doing that method, I like to pick it off of the backing with my take your pick tool and kind of ball it up. So it's a little glue ball. All right, so let's see where we're going to put this. It could certainly go here on this handle, which was going to be my first choice. I think that's kind of cute. It could go over here, but now that I shoved all my mugs to the left, I do feel like I need to pull a little bit of eye focus to this side. So that's it. That's where my little bow is going to go. All right, linen thread, bow. Looks great, of course, with the pecan pie and the early espresso. And it adds a little interest since our little cutout designs are just glued on there flat. They don't have any dimension or anything. So it's kind of nice that we added a little something there. And there we have that one. Now, we could put an image here if we want to. How about this? Let's just put a couple of coffee beans there just to do something different. And then I'm going to bring back in those first two cards since now they're going to make more sense now that you've seen one get made. All right, there's our little collection, our little drop of coffee beans there. Okay, so super fun, way different being able to have that little peekaboo window in the designer series paper, especially being able to have it in a position that is not usually done and is kind of tricky. So we have this card, we have this card, and then those first two. This one was done with Unbounded Beauty, something like that, the paper, and a stamp from the new saying set that I am loving. I've done a video or two with that, a couple of die cuts and some ribbon, and there is that perennial postage die again. And then this one, which is retired product, retired paper. This was a long since retired stamp set, but I pulled it out, was in love with the colors, and I liked that window once again. And it has the layer on the inside. So there you have it. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'm super excited about not only this style of card, but especially the Latte Love bundle. And I will be doing a lot of videos showing you some fantastic coffee and latte and cappuccino themed cards. So enjoy your time creating, and until next time, happy stamping.